When On the Buses came to an end in 1973, finishing with Series 7 and the third spin-off film Holiday on the Buses, although we wouldn't see everyday life at Luxon and District again, there were still connected Wolfe and Chesney series going on. Romany Jones was in its very early stages, with episode 1 airing on June the 8th, 1973. This continued on until 1975. Following this, the Briggs got their very own sequel, Yes My Dear, moving out of the caravan site and into a brand new house. And in 1977, the wonderful Anna Karen reprised her role as Olive Rudge in the ITV version of The Rag Trade. But nestled in between all these, a new series quietly went about its business. A series starring Stephen Lewis reprising his role as Cyril Blake, heading off to Spain for retirement in Don't Drink the Water. We'll take a look at the filming locations of the opening and closing credits, where Stephen Lewis and Pat Coombs flew out to Spain to film the opening credits. The majority of all of these locations were in the vicinity of Alicante, bar this opener, the Malaga Bullring, which is over 400 kilometres away. And this comparison photo from 1973 to present day shows how much the area has changed structure-wise. We see some opening brochures and pamphlets regarding enticing Brits to come and move out to Spain. It was certainly the in thing to do back then, whether it was to get a timeshare apartment or permanent residency. So a bus brings Blakey and his sister Dorothy to their new place of residence, and as you can see, this place here in Alicante is in the very early stages of construction. There are only a couple of completed buildings in the area, and a proper road has not been laid yet. And this exact spot is right here on Avenue S. Bartolomé, Arenales del Sol in Alicante. At the time of filming, these two buildings on the left are the only ones built on this little stretch. There are a couple of constructed buildings just behind them. And if we zoom in here to the side of the building, we can see the line of windows running down. So Blakey and his sister alight the bus, it pulls away and they turn round, and behind them we see a board showing new builds coming soon. And those buildings present day are pretty much smack bang right behind where they are standing, and you can just see a glimpse of the sea. Looking at this section of the proposed structure, there's an area from above that looks a little bit like an old-fashioned telephone handle. Here's the same design present day. And the brother and sister will be standing somewhere around here looking across over at their new building. And as they make their way across to the building, we see the very first version of the garage just next to the building, and here it is modern day, upgraded substantially over the years. Halfway through the episode, Blakey and Dorothy look out of their apartment to try and see the sea, and they're greeted by this sight. Again, another building under construction. Now, this place is a few hundred yards down the road on the same straight, within walking distance, and the name of this building is Sol 1. There are two buildings exactly the same. The other one is called Sol 2, and a little bit further behind it. So it's clear that this was the first one and the one we're looking at. And right in the middle of the building, we can see the stairs are under creation. And just before the episode finishes, Carlos, played by the legendary Derek Griffiths, is pointing out the location of the cafe for Blakey and Dorothy. This is located approximately 26 miles round the corner along the coast from where they alight the bus. Many changes over the years. This place is now called the Casa Julio Restaurant. Now, this shot, there was no higher building behind, so they would have been up on a cherry picker or something. Looks a very old roof, whether it's under repair or it's in the stages of being taken off. But present day, we've got at least a new roof, could be a completely new building. And across the road at the restaurant, there's two little buildings now, rather than one big one. And also, the big difference is present day, the tram lines are over on that side of the road. And back when this photo was taken, they are over on this side of the road, out of view on the photograph. An interesting tidbit, when they come back from the commercial break on episode 1, we see a very quick glimpse of a photograph with Blakey in at the depot. We do see it for a little bit longer in episode 2. Blakey says that this photo was of his presentation at his retirement do. Now obviously they're at the bus depot here, and everyone in this photo, there's no likes of anyone who was there at the end of the series, such as Bob Grant and any other familiar Clippies and drivers. Now there's two possibilities with this photo. One being they may have done a little bit of 1970s Photoshop, put Blakey's head on somebody, but there's also a good chance Stephen Lewis could have popped along to Wood Green Depot to have this photo taken. They hadn't long finished filming the series, so everybody would have still been familiar with him and no doubt welcomed him back for a flying visit. Whichever the outcome, I think there's a very big chance that these gentlemen in the photograph were in fact real-life employees of the Wood Green bus garage. We do know that Cyril Blake eventually would have pined for home and moved back to England and resurrect a career on the buses, but unfortunately the series Back on the Buses was cancelled. I thought Stephen Lewis did very well in this series. Must have been very different for him not having 4 or 5 fellow co-stars to bounce the humour and the one-liners off of. But he could take comfort that he had comedy royalty by his side in Derek Griffiths and Pat Coombs. We come to the closing credits, approximately 5 kilometres back down the coast, and this is just along from Albufeira Beach. L-shaped building on the left still instantly recognisable, as is the background behind all of these buildings, and as the camera pans round and up, we see this large building here, and the cameraman would have stood right at the end on this concrete jetty. We are then taken back to Avenue S. Bartolome, where we see the 2 buildings face on. This is the building here where a cameraman will be right in the corner facing Blakey's buildings. Exact same spot here. And as the credits roll, we see the back of this building. And as it slowly starts to pan right, we then see this building here. And we see the hills in the background. And as we come onto the main road present day, we can see those same hills. Don't Drink the Water has the poignant accolade of being the last ever sitcom to be recorded at LWT Studios at Wembley, before relocation to LWT's brand new facility on the South Bank, later known as the London Studios, which itself closed in 2018. And as to why Spain was chosen, and in particular Alicante, co-writer Ronnie Chesney had a holiday home right here in Alicante.